Hello and welcome to Chalk's assessment tutorial for question banks and sharing. In this video, we'll be going over what a question bank is, creating and sharing a question bank, importing questions into an assessment, and resources for assessment. First, we'll begin with what a question bank is. A question bank is a repository of questions that you can use to add to your assessments. You can plan more efficiently by creating a bank of questions and then add them to your assessments as you plan out your school year. You can also reuse the same bank of questions in the future, saving you time. In addition, you can collaborate on a question bank with your peers to create alignment within your school. Ensure fairness and consistency in assessing multiple sections of students learning similar subjects by pulling in questions from a shared question bank. Next, we'll go over how to create and share a question bank. In order to get to where you can create and edit your question banks, you'll want to be in the Planboard application. In order to get here, you'll go to the top left-hand corner to open your navigation menu. From here, you can go down to Planboard and either click here and you'll be brought to this page with all of your subjects for the semester and be able to select the question banks tab. Another option to get here is through the navigation again. And you can actually select the drop-down menu here and be able to see question banks. From here, you're going to see either a blank page if you haven't yet to create question banks, or you can see your list of already created question banks. So from here, you can edit existing question banks or go to the top right-hand corner and select the plus icon. Here, you'll be able to create your new question bank. So first off, you're going to name it. So I'm going to name mine fractions. You'll also want to select a curriculum set if you're wanting to track standards for these questions. So in order to do that, you'll just search for the standard set. So you start by district, grade, and the subject. And then I'm going to select create. The page you'll be brought to create your question bank is really similar to the online assessment builder. So here you're going to see an option to either create a new question or import a question from an existing question bank or assessment that's already within your Planboard. What I'm going to do is first create a question. Now that you've created a question, you can edit what it looks like. So of course, we can select the type of question. There's multiple types of questions from multiple choice, true or false, written response. You can upload a file, or you can just make instructions. Instructions is when you have just a section for the student to read what they're expected to do in a section of an assessment. Here, you can also select how many points this is going to be worth in your assessment. You may also add standards from the standard set that you previously added to this question bank. Once you've added all of the standards that you would like to add, you will then select Save. And here you can see your standards attached to the question. You can create as many questions as you would like within your question bank. Select the points and what kind of questions they are. When you have finished creating all of the questions you would like within your question bank, you can then select Share. And here you'll be able to actually share with your peers in order to collaborate when creating your assessments for the semester. This is really helpful when you have multiple teachers teaching the same subject to the same grades, or you have teachers within the same grade that want to kind of collaborate in terms of making sure that all of your subjects are aligned. So when you want to share to a group, you can type in their name or the email on their Chalk account, and you'll be able to select them. Of course, when you are sharing, you can either have them view it. This means that they won't be able to edit the questions until they've actually put them within one of their own question banks or one of their own assessments. If you would like to collaborate and work on a question bank together, you can select Can Edit as the option when sharing. So when I select Can Edit, this teacher is also able to edit my question banks and make changes to the question bank. And any changes that they make will also appear within my Markboard. Now that we're done, you'll see it here within fractions. So now we can reopen and continue to work on our question bank. Now, if I wanted to take questions from a question bank that someone had shared with me or a question bank that I had already worked on, I can also select the import option. And we can choose to import from our Markboard, which would be within the question banks within my question or my assessments that are already created. Or I can import from resources, and these are all question banks and assessments that have been shared with me. Here, I'll be able to select the question bank that has been shared with me and take a look at what questions that I want to actually include. So I can drop down and see a quick preview and decide that I want to add this question to my existing question bank and import it into my question bank. And here it is. Now that we've looked at creating and sharing question banks, we're going to go over importing questions into an assessment within my subjects in Markboard. Now, in order to use the questions that I have made within my question bank, I'll want to go back into my subject and put them in an assessment. So in order to do so, we're back on the homepage for the question banks. What I'll do is switch over to the sections tab. Here, once again, I'm going to see all of the subjects that I have within the semester, and I'm just going to select the one that I want to create the assessment for. So I'm just going to go into math. And here we're going to see my math subject page for all of my assessments. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see the import button. What this does is it's going to allow me to import a question bank or an already made assessment directly into my subject. Here we're going to see things that have been shared with me. So here I can see that Natasha has shared a test with me. And if I wanted to use this test right off the bat, I can actually select this. And it's going to open up this preview mode. So what it's doing is it's showing me a test that this teacher has shared with me. And as you can see, I can't edit this. This is just a view only permission, but this is going to allow me to bring this test into my subject so that I can work on it. So what I'm going to do is select the blue button in the top right-hand corner that says import. And now it's going to make me select a category. So which category for my grades do I want to put this in? So since it's a test, I'm going to select test. And it's going to go towards the 40% that my marks are coming from. So I'm going to then select import. So this brings me to the assessment builder. If you want to take a look at assessment builder, I do recommend watching the video below. I'm going to link it within the YouTube video, and it's also on our support website that you can get to by going to this help button in the top right-hand corner. When you select help, it's going to open our support site where we have plenty of articles, videos, and tutorials for you to go through and take a look at all of the questions that you would like to have answered. So I always recommend taking a look here if you ever run into trouble. We have a ton of sources, and I really think it'll help you with your while. So you'll probably want to go either to the Markboard FAQ or the assessment solution where all of our online assessment resources live. Now back to our Markboard and our assessment. So let's say we're putting this test within our subject. So what we can do here is now we can edit the questions that have been put into our Markboard. So here's our instructions, and we can go in and make changes to any of these questions and answers, but we can also import individual questions from our question bank. What I can do is I can select this import button. That's right where we create more questions. And we can select Markboard or resources. This is just like within our question bank, except now you're seeing it within the assessment that is going to be within your subject. So instead of making it into its own separate question bank, you're going to be pulling from those question banks and putting it within your assessment. So what we can do is select Markboard. And now it's going to give us the option to pull questions from our question bank. So what I can do is I can go to one of these question banks and take a look at the questions that I have provided to me and import them, either all of them at once or select the individual ones that I want to be added to this test. And I'm just going to select import in the bottom. And now you can see that they're within my assessment. And just to make things easier, anywhere you can create a question in whatever order, you can also import your questions, but you can also change the order here just by moving these questions up and down. So if you hover over it, you're going to see the option to move them up or down or delete them completely. And when you're done, you can either go back and it will save automatically, or you can move along and publish. Now that we've taken a look at question banks and using them within your assessments in Markboard, we'll take a look at resources for assessment. This will allow you to collaborate with your peers by sharing assessments and question banks. In order to get to the resources application, go to the navigation menu in the top left-hand corner, and you'll be able to scroll down to resources. Here you'll see anything and everything that has been shared to you. So when sharing, you can share with an individual person, or you can share with an entire group. A group can be either your school, your institution, or a specific group that an admin has made for you. In order to find question banks or assessments that have been shared with you, go to the tab of question banks near the top under Search, or you can go to Assessments. Assessments are an already created assessment that you can import into your Markboard. Question banks are, of course, that repository of questions that you can import into either your question banks or an assessment. I'm going to select the first question bank that has been shared with me. Here you'll be able to see anything that's attached to this. So it's going to give you a quick overview of who shared it with you and who else it's been shared with, as well as the curriculum sets that are attached to the question bank. Remember, if you don't have these curriculum sets assigned to your subjects, they aren't going to transfer over when you import your question bank. Now I'm going to select Edit. And this is an option because this teacher or user has allowed me to have editing permissions. This means that any changes that I make while editing this question bank is going to show up for that user as well. If I didn't have editing permissions, this would be the option of preview. When you select Edit, it's going to look just like where you can edit or build your question bank. Just remember that any of these changes, again, are going to be made for the user that shared the question bank with you, as well as anybody else who has access to this question bank. Now, if I want to import them as they are into my question bank or into my assessment, I'm going to select the Import button in the top right-hand corner. And here I'll be able to select whether I want to import it into my question bank or I want to import it into an assessment. If I import it into a question bank, I get to pick the list of question banks that I've already created within my Markboard. Or I can select assessment. And when I import these questions, I am of course going to select the questions that I want to import into my assessment. So here I will just add the first question, and then I will select. And therefore I'm going to add it to the semester and make sure that it's within my subject, and I will add it to the test that we were working on earlier. When doing this, I'm going to then select import. Now, if I want to add an already made assessment that has been shared with me by another teacher, I'm going to go to the Assessments tab, And I'm going to select this first assessment that has been shared with me. Here you can see that I can either preview the assessment or I can import it. Now here, what I can do is select the semester and the section that I want to add it to, and I have to select a category. So I'm going to select assignment and just select import after I'm done. Now this has added the assessment into my Markboard, and the next time I go to my Markboard, I can edit that assessment and publish it for my students to take. Again, if you have any other questions about online assessment, you can go to this help icon in the top right-hand corner. It's going to take you directly to our support website, and then you can select assessment solution. Here we have all of our learning guides for our teachers, as well as a ton of frequently asked questions and support articles and tutorials. If you have online assessment questions, we have plenty of really in-depth articles and instructions about how you can make those online assessments to assess your students. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial for online assessments, question banks, and resource sharing. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us at any of our support channels. We do have those tutorials and on-demand how-tos at support.chalk.com that I showed you earlier. We have live chat with an agent in office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which you can find in the bottom right-hand corner of the application. And if you'd like to contact us at any other time, we do have a 24-hour email support system. You can email us at support@chalk.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial, and I hope you have a great day.